Hello and welcome to the Board of Supervisors meeting today, June 2nd, 2021. It is now 7:30. Today you can watch this on social media and on the web or on the TV, cable TV. If you're watching on cable TV, it's live. If you're watching on the web, there's a 10-second delay. So if you are calling for public comment, be sure to call early on agenda items. The agenda is available on our website. You can dial in for public comment by dialing 646-558-8656. Enter meeting ID 230-936-1902, followed by the hash or pound sign. I'm going to pass this meeting off to Chair Blundy.
Thank you, Monica, and thank you, everybody. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, with that, take a roll call. John, are you here?
Yep.
James?
Yes, I'm here.
Dan?
Present.
I think he said present. And Fred?
I am here.
And I am here, so 5 out of 5. Just a reminder that public comment on agenda items will be taken as each item is discussed. And with that, we're up to agenda item number 14, the COVID-19 update. Kurt?
Thank you. First, at the last meeting, we had discussed the township buildings, the administrative office, the public works building, the community center reopening on June 15th. That is still a plan for a opening on June 15th. The township, for the time being, will keep in place for those entering the building to be masked. When they come into the building, and if they have township staff assisting them, staff would be masked assisting them, and that'll be the guidance that we have for the time being. As things change or progress, we could make updates to that. But that date again is June 15th with a mask requirement for those entering the building. I wanted to let the town and the board know as well that the American Rescue Plan, that there's been discussions, the COVID relief bill, that we did receive word today that we have 5 days to put our application in. I have participated in several seminars, one with the Department of Treasury, through ICMA with several regional managers. The amount of money that we're eligible for is about $3.2 million. There's limited scope for what we are eligible for. There is money available for reimbursements for shortfalls that they've called them for this past year, but also for shortfalls for the next 4 years based upon a series of calculations for the revenue that we may have had COVID never happened, which is going to be interesting in terms of looking at how those numbers are. Half of that money would be coming to townships this year, the second half next year. So when we get that money, we would be putting that into its own account, that we would keep tight controls. It would require annual audits to that money. And for the time being, that application would go in for shortfalls, potential shortfalls, and stormwater projects and infrastructure. I would only caution the board and the community at large that while we have a lot of stormwater projects that I know Mr. Pokel can talk at length about, they have only released the Department of Treasury guidance, not rules and regulations. So before we start rolling on getting stormwater projects out, when those monies come in, we're going to have more conversations with Commonwealth and the Treasury regarding that we bid this properly, that we follow the rules and regulations that they have, which tend to be far more cumbersome when you get money from government than when townships do this on their own. So I will get that application in by next Monday. I have several Zoom meetings with regional managers and other officials in the next 2 business days that we'll all get those in. So that's all I have regarding COVID. Back to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you. And Monica, is there any public comment on that?
There's no public comment. Sorry, I had a mute issue.
It's okay, because it's still your turn. You're up with community announcements, agenda item number 5.
Okay, so just a reminder, during this portion of the agenda, residents and youth organizations may call in to make a special announcement or contact the township at admin@lmt.org to announce, have a special announcement added to the agenda. The second thing today is Parks and Recreation has digital and in-person recreational opportunities. We're going to start with Sunset Yoga. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't start my video. We're going to start with Sunset Yoga. We already started with that. Goat Yoga starts this weekend. Art and Zumba are now available. Information can be found at the link on the agenda, or just follow lmt.org and look for the Parks and Recreation Department. This weekend, Saturday, June 5th, there'll be a food truck festival at Memorial Park. From 12 to 7, come join us for 15 food trucks and a number of vendors that will be there, some bounce houses and music. Sounds like a great time for a family, lots of fun. The pool is officially open. We opened last weekend, as cold as it was. You can still register today at the link on the agenda, or go to lmt.org under community pool. The plans for Community Day are in the works. We are looking for vendors for the day. So if any vendors, clubs, or organizations or businesses are interested in participating either in the event or by sponsorship, please contact Kathy H. at lmt.org. The next Yard Waste Cleanup Day will be held on Saturday, June 7th, 2021 from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And G, LMT Farmers Market returns to Charlene Farms on Tuesday, June 3rd, 2021. We also have Electronic Recycling Day on Saturday, June 1st, 2021 from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the parking lot at St. John's Evangelist Church at 752 Big Oak Road in Morrisville. And the final thing today is we do have a walking group for LMT residents that will start on Saturday the 12th. At 10 a.m. You can meet in the parking lot of the community center. There is no pre-sign up or pre-registration. Just show up and walk 2.5 to 3 miles with some of your friends and neighbors. And that's all I have today.
So can we get 1 second, Dan, clarification? It's either a typo or confusion. Is the yard cleanup Saturday or is it Monday? Because Monday is June 7th and Saturday is June 5th. So if we could just get some clarification so that people know when to come, that would be great.
It would be Saturday. Let me get Greg and I'll confirm that. Give me 1 second.
Okay, thank you. So
he's watching. It's Monday. My apologies. It's
okay.
This is when we start doing some of them during the week. It's Monday.
Okay, so just to reiterate, the yard cleanup this time around is Monday, June 7th. And Greg, the hours, please, if you would text them in so we can make sure everyone knows when to bring their yard waste by. That would be wonderful. And then Dan, I saw that you had something to add.
Well,
it is 7 to 3, same time, so Suzanne, 7 to 3 on Monday. Sorry, thanks.
Thank you, Kurt. Thank you, Greg. Go ahead, Dan. Sorry about that.
I guess 2 things. One on H, kind of following up on what you just said. It looks like there's probably a typo on H as well, where it says June 1st. I'm assuming it's either this Saturday or June 12th, the following
June
Saturday.
12th, I think.
Yeah. You can just check in on that one.
My apologies. I didn't catch that when we put the agenda out. So that would be, yes, June 12th.
June 12th, okay. That one's always popular. And then in terms of announcements, it's really more of a thank you to Yardley Borough, the VFW, and American Legion for putting on an excellent Memorial Day parade and other events surrounding Memorial Day in support of our veterans. It was, for those of you who were able to attend, it was all the events were wonderful. The weather was great, and I would say there was a great showing of support across the community. It was very nice to take part in yet again. So I just want to again say thank you to the borough, VFW, and the American Legion for setting that up.
Okay, I know some people may be having a hard time hearing Dan, but it's June 12th for the recycle event. That is not the one put on by the EAC, but it should still be a really good event, and hope people will be able to swing by and recycle. Anybody else? Okay, then agenda item number 6, consider approval of the minutes from the May 19th, 2021 meeting.
So moved.
Motion. Thank you, James.
Second.
Thank you,
Second.
Dan.
Sorry, Fan. Can you hear me?
I think it was Dan, so I'm going to say it was Dan. Sorry if it wasn't Dan, but I saw the 2 go up. Any discussion? Monica, is there any public comment?
There is no public comment.
And I guess I should say, Monica, did anybody on the public have a community announcement they wanted to share? There's all sorts of typos going on today. Thank you. Thank you. All right, there's no public comment on the minutes. So with that, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Raise
Aye.
your hand. Aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. Okay, so then we are on to agenda item number 7, which is the consideration of a resolution celebrating Pride Month in Lower Makefield Township. Do we need a motion on that, Dave?
Yes, yeah, you need a motion, and I would point out, since we're on the typo theme tonight, and I've made my own tonight, which I can acknowledge, the word tenant, T-E-N-A-N-T, should be tenant, T-E-N-E-T, in this resolution. So,
Okay.
other than that, we do need a motion, yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve a resolution of the Township of Lower Makefield to celebrate Pride Month.
Is there a second? Thank you, John. Would it be appropriate for me to read the resolution into the record?
Sure.
Okay, so with that, a resolution of the Township of Lower Makefield celebrating Pride Month. Whereas the history of our country and the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania are founded on the promise of justice, tolerance, and equality for all. And whereas a fundamental cornerstone of that tenet is that we, as a community, will work to advance justice, tolerance, and equity. And whereas the events of the past months have highlighted that there is much to be done to deliver on that promise. And whereas for 50 years, June, or Pride Month, has commemorated the events of June 1969 and strives to achieve equal justice and equal rights for all lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgenders, and queer Americans. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Lower Makefield Township hereby joins in the celebration of Pride Month. Is there any discussion from the board? Is there any public comment, Monica?
There is no public comment.
Then with that, I call the question. All those in favor of the resolution as read and corrected with the spelling of tenant, please indicate by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, everyone.
Hey, Suzanne.
Yes.
I'm sorry if you can't hear me. I'm trying to follow our COVID things here, but I don't know if you're aware of what Yardley Borough did yesterday. They raised in honor of Pride Month, they raised a pride flag at the borough. So I hadn't thought of it until my daughter saw a picture of her new friend, Mr. Bria, standing next to the flag on the news, and actually made me one today, which I thought was adorable. And so I was wondering if I know we have a flagpole up that direction along Edgewood. I was wondering if the board might consider a resolution to hang the pride flag on the flagpole for the month of June in honor of Pride Month.
I'd second that motion.
Fine, I'll make the motion so we can discuss it. So yeah.
Right, so is it a motion or a resolution? Because
I'll make it more
either.
formal, I guess. I'll make a motion to hang the pride flag at at the administrative building for the month of June.
I'll
Okay,
second.
John's a second. Okay, so discussion? Can we,
I can get one for you too. I'd be happy to donate one to the township.
And no, I think that would be the easy part. My only concern is, Dave, we're okay, right? Taking a spontaneous motion?
Yep.
Okay. All
I mean,
right.
You're
So
allowed public comment, so if anybody from the public wants to make a comment, they're allowed to do so.
okay. So anybody have any public comment?
There is no public comment.
All right. Then with that, I call the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? 5-0, the motion carries.
I'm sorry,
Alright.
if you don't mind me asking, just for clarity, we have that flag?
We don't as of yet, but I'll get you one, Kurt.
And, okay, and that flag, what flagpole would that be going on? I didn't pick that up.
So there's, as far as I looked at it on the way in, but there is a flagpole along Edgewood that has the American flag. It was flying when I came in front of the administrative building. I believe that's anyone can correct me if I'm wrong here. I believe that's our only flagpole at the township building.
I think so.
So I guess what Kurt's asking is, we know that the American flag will always be the
Of course.
highest flag, and then the pride flag. And so, Kurt, are you concerned that maybe we don't have the mechanism to add a
No,
second
I just
flag?
am questioning, like, I guess the question is, and I have to look more closely. I know we have a Lower Makefield flag that we have. We have the US flag.
Pennsylvania?
I think we also have, Chief, I think we have the Commonwealth flag as well. I think there's those three out there, correct? Do you recall? I'm sorry, I look at it.
Correct. They're not all on the pole, but we have them and we do fly them occasionally. I don't believe we
Yeah.
fly all three at the same time.
Kurt, this just not that it matters, but this evening it was we were flying the American flag and what looked like the township flag. It wasn't windy enough to be able to tell for sure, but I'm fairly certain it was the township flag.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
So
Thank you.
you'll get the flag and we'll get it flown.
Thank you.
Thank everybody. All right, excellent. So with that, we're moving on to agenda item number 8, sewer engineer.
And we're just going to bring Fred right in. Fred is in.
Go ahead, Fred.
Good evening. I think I have 5 items for you tonight. The first one is consideration of payment request number 3 to Blooming Glen Contractors for the Brookstone Pump Station Upgrade Mechanical Contract. The payment request is in the amount of $45,331.33. This is basically for the completion of all the work, which included decommissioning of the bypass pumping operation, connection to the existing pump station startup, and site restoration. The only money that is remaining on this contract is the retainage, of which basically the retainage will be released probably next month after they complete the final punch list items and maintenance bond. All work is completed and the pump station is operating very well. So look for a recommendation, we're making the recommendation. This was also approved by the Lower Makefield Township Sewer Authority last Thursday. And so we're looking for the township approval for this payment request.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion to pay Blooming Glen Contractors for the Brookstone Pump Station Upgrade Mechanical Contract in the amount of $45,331.33.
Is there a
Second.
second? Thank you, Dan. Is there any discussion? Yes, Dan?
My usual question that I usually ask Andy on stuff like this. Fred, it looks like there's 27,000 left plus 27,350 and change.
Yes,
And you're comfortable that that's enough and that covers the outstanding cost?
absolutely. It's actually all done already. So, we're actually preparing a recommendation. It was basically to complete the punch list, and there was nothing there. We were waiting for maintenance bonds and other paperwork, which we have since received. So yes, it definitely covers everything that's remaining.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Dan? Any other
No, that's it.
supervisors? Is there any public comment on the motion, Monica?
There's no public comment.
All right, with that, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
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 All those opposed, well, we have 5, so there are none opposed. Motion carries 5-0.
Second
Moving on,
item,
Fred?
yep, second item for your consideration is also a payment request number 4 also for the Brookstone Pump Station. This is for the electrical contract by AJM Electric Inc. This is for the completion of all the work, removal of the existing panels, and the wiring and installation of the pump station for startup. Pump station's obviously started up, functioning very well. So this is for the release of all money but the retainage and a closeout line item that they have. So I'll look for a motion. Oh, go ahead. I'll look for a motion to make this payment request in the amount of $7,579.33.
Is there a motion?
I'll make that
So
motion
moved.
to,
Thank you, Fred. Second, John? Okay. All right, with that, is there any discussion? Yes, Dan?
Same question, Fred?
Absolutely, because the next item that I'm going to have up is for the release and retainage and all the remaining monies. So it more
There
than
you go.
covers it.
Any public comment, Monica?
There is no public comment.
With that, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
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 The motion, thank you. The motion carries 5-0.
The next item is consideration of payment request number 5 to AJM Electric for the Brookstone Pump Station electrical contract. This is for the payment of the closeout line item and release of all retainage. This was recommended by the Sewer Authority at last Thursday's meeting. It's also been reviewed by the Sewer Authority Solicitor Barb Kirk. All paperwork and everything is in order. We've received all operation and maintenance manuals, all as-built drawings, red lines of it. So we are recommending payment in the amount of $3,379 to AJM Electric. And the job is complete, operational, and all paperwork is in order.
so moved.
Thank you, Fred. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dan. Is there any discussion from this board?
Fred,
Monica, is there any public? Sorry, Dan, go ahead.
It's all right. Fred, how do we do on budget on this one overall?
I think excellent. We had the combined contracts would have been for $315,000. The Brookstone Pump Station was the bid amount was $270,000. We had a total change orders of $3,149. On the second contract, the electrical contract, the contract was in the amount of $48,195, and we had a total change orders of $378. And the only change orders that we had were basically for the removal of fillets at the bottom of the wet well, which we had no way of knowing they were down there, the size of them, until we dewatered it and took it offline. So the only thing we had was just an unknown extra concrete at the bottom of the existing wet well. Other than that, excellent job, and both contractors did an excellent job. So I don't know
Anything
what
else?
that is, but I would say it's probably 1% of the job. So change orders are 1%.
Thanks, Fred. Any other comment from any other supervisors? Monica, is there any public comment?
There's no public comment.
With that, I call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye, raising your hands.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Okay. D.
Kurt, yep, Kurt or Kyle, could you start my PowerPoint presentation? Okay, what I have, the first item I have for you is the Buck Creek Interceptor cured in place pipeliner contract. And we'll also, so if we flip over, this is contract SWR 21-3. This is the Buck Creek Interceptor. This has been a line item in the approved 2021 budget. It is also part of our corrective action plan with the PADEP to reduce the flows going to the Morrisville area. This is an area, this has been identified for a long time. We received 5 bids, which is very good. The range of the bids was between $215,425 to $369,738. The 2021 budget is $283,250. Our estimate was $247,450 without the 10% contingency. With the 10% contingency, which would be used for change orders, if there were any, it would be $271. The low bid was in the amount of $215,425 to Vortex Services, Inc. Vortex also won our 2021-2 contract for the lining in both the Morrisville service area as well as in the Chamonix Interceptor or Bucks County Water and Sewer Authority area. Once again, the engineer's estimate and the 2021 budget amount fell well within the range of bids, right in the middle. Perfectly, we had 3 below us and 2 above us, exactly where we want to be. The 2 lowest bidders were within 10% of each other, as well as the engineer's estimate without the 10% contingency. Once again, access was challenging here, but what the township did, though, was we've gone out and we are clearing this for the contractors. So we have an obligation, to maintain access to our easements. We figured this way it would reduce our markup on it. We would do that. So that will still come out of this budgeted amount, which is a direct cost that we're having. But this way we know that without question that the right-of-way is being cleared within the limits of the right-of-way, and I don't have to worry about a contractor going into someone's backyard, which was a concern of ours. The reason I think the bid was so aggressive was 2 things. Number one, it went to the same contractor that won the previous one. So now they have a significantly larger project that can complete it all at one time. So they only have one mobilization. They move from one project right into the other. The second reason, as I had described before, they're very close right across the river in New Jersey. So for their guys, they're back home every night. So they definitely bid these jobs very aggressively. So I would look for a recommendation to award contract SWR 21-3 in the amount of $215,425 to Vortex Services, LLC. And we have previously, last month, awarded another contract to them. And I'll take any questions from the board or the public at any time.
You'll need a motion first, Tech.
Yeah, let's get the motion out there. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Fred. Second.
I'll second.
Thank you, James. Any discussion from the board? Yes, Dan?
Fred, on I'm focused on the easement clearance that you were talking about. When you said we're going to do it, are you talking about township staff will be handling that, or is it folks from eBird Engineering?
No, actually neither. The township is actually has a land clear that's going out, and it's underneath the bid amount. So they're going out and using them. The township forces, they just don't have the equipment and the time right now to get this done. So they're actually using a third party to go out and do that.
So I guess, do we still run the same risk that you were talking about going in people's backyards with non-township staff, or
No,
Or are we
because we're
managing
directing
against
that and controlling them rather than being a subcontractor to, if it's a subcontractor to contractor, I have very little control. By us having a direct contractual relationship, we can control it. We went out there, we've identified them, we have flagged them, the easements and areas that need to be done. We've identified how we're getting down into them. Because the access is difficult. There's actually a steep bank in one area, and making sure that they are staying within our easement to both access the clearing area and removing it.
do we have to, I wasn't sure how we were doing that. Do we have to vote on that, Dave, to approve that, or is that just something the township can do on its own?
I think the township could do its own, that's a part of a, I guess, a regular capital project. They're already underway, so.
Yeah, and it's regular maintenance for the sewer department. Yeah. We regularly clear right of ways when it's required. And that avoids any major issues. You know, if there's ever a clogged line or something like that, we can get equipment in there at all times.
I don't have any other questions, but thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Anything else from any other supervisors? Monica, is there any public comment?
There is no public comment.
And with that, I'll call the question. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Opposed?
Okay, motion carries 3-2.
Next screen, please. This is contract SWR 21-4, the upgrades to the Silver Lake pump station. This is the one that I was very nervous about going in to this contract. We only received 2 bids. The range of bids was from $233,630 to $449,500. Our budget was $360,500. The engineer's estimate without the 10% contingency was $319,500. With the 10% contingency was $351,450. The low bid was $233,630. The low bidder was Blooming Glen Contractors, who just completed our Brookstone pump station upgrade with a 1% change order. The Sewer Authority recommended award at its May 27th meeting. The engineer's estimate fell within the range. We were very nervous about how low this bid was. I actually talked to not only the estimator, but the head person over at Blooming Glen to get a better understanding of why their price was there and how could they do that at that price, given everything. What they really did was they went very hard and aggressive on this, but they did a lot of additional work above and beyond in order to win this contract, mainly because it fit perfectly into their schedule. They had a gap and had no work for their guys. But they actually went out and met with the township traffic safety officer, found out what it took to close the road with proper notification and detours. So instead of having to haul the flows from this, which would be a continuous line of trucks, they're able to close a portion of that road, install a temporary bypass pump in there, and do that. That saved them over $100,000 compared to the other bid that we received solely on that lineup. The other is that they control their, they have their own machine shop, so they control the timeline in its entirety for the duration of the bypass pumping. So they can start bypass pumping, immediately take the pumps back to their shop, have them rebuilt and refurnished while they're doing the internal piping and valve replacement. As a result, instead of it being a 3 to 4 week time period to be bypass pumping, they'll be bypass pumping for hopefully less than a week. The other thing that they did was, he was honest with me. He said they purchased all these fittings in bulk a year ago, and he gave me, they passed it through internally to them at their current price that they purchased it, rather than the increased price today. So that all, did it, had we not received that bid and had it not them gone that aggressively, we would have been in the situation that I feared, where we could have been as much as $100,000 higher than the bid price, just if everyone had to purchase that. So based on that and the previous performance that they've done at the Brookstone pump station, I'm recommending that we award this contract in the amount of $233,630 to Blooming Glen Contractors.
So moved.
Thank you, Fred. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, James. Is there any discussion? Yes, Dan?
Mr. There you go. Is there any easement clearing on this one as well, or no?
No. This is actually all taking place inside of the wet well, with the exception of right outside the wet well, we are installing a emergency bypass connection. Because right now, if we had a lightning strike on this pump station, then we had no way of bypassing the flows other than trying to haul it. And we saw that was, very, very expensive. And would have to be done in, risky, making sure you don't have an extreme wet weather event when you're bypass pumping it.
Is that any other questions from the supervisors? Monica, is there any public comment?
There is no public comment.
Okay, with that, I'll call the question. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye, raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Opposed?
The motion carries 3 in favor, 1 in opposition, and 1 in an abstention. So, okay, thank you. Thank you, Fred.
That's
Have a
all
good
I have,
evening.
unless the board has any other questions for me.
Nope.
See
We're
you
good.
guys.
Thank you, Fred.
Thanks, Fred.
Bye. So from our sewer engineer to Andy engineer, agenda item number 9.
Yes, hello. I'd like to provide instead of jumping right into the agenda items, I want to provide a brief update on the road program. The contractor is working. They have completed most of the inlet repairs. They have completed all of the ADA ramps that were required in the road program. So it looks like they're on schedule next week to begin the milling and overlay of the roads for next week. And everything is right on budget so far for the road program. Also, the contractor has begun work on the bike path project. So if anybody was driving down Heacock Road today and saw some personnel working on the bike path over there, they were clearing out cleaning out the cracks and preparing the surface for mill and overlay. That will happen most likely the beginning of next week as well.
Andy, how long is that going to take in case people are wanting to use the bike path and we got to divert them a little bit?
I anticipate that taking about a week and a half.
You just want to get the word out. It's getting
Right.
nice out, people using their bikes, that's all.
Yeah, I'm not sure which end they're going to start from, whether it's up at Edgewood or down around on Stony Hill Road. But yeah, all told, about a week and a half.
Okay, thank you.
Based on the performance of how quick they did it last year, and also, I'll throw in the caveat, everything's weather dependent.
Everything's weather.
So then I will jump into the agenda items. The first item is to consider the award for the community center entrance improvements project to Liberty Door Systems in the amount of $29,340.00. If you'll remember, we put this out for bid on Penn Bid previously and received no bids. This is the second time we put it out for bid. We did notify numerous contractors that do this type of work. We even reached out to the door suppliers so that they could notify the contractors that would do this work, and yet we only received one bid. It is a little high above the budget, but in my opinion, I think we will not get a better price. And in talking with Liberty, it seems like this is something that they're well qualified to do. And so I would recommend award to Liberty Door Systems in the amount of $29,340.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Fred. Second? Is there a second from, well, I will second it to get the discussion going. With that, supervisors, do we have any discussion? Fred?
And these are definitely commercial doors, ADA compliant. Did the Disability Advisory Committee have a chance to chime in on the specs?
Yeah, they did. Monica had provided all the information that we had put in the specifications to them. Monica, I don't think they had any comments other than, positive outlook on getting the work done.
They had very minor comments, but we did address them when we put it out for bid.
Thank you, Monica.
You're welcome.
Any other supervisors have any discuss? Yes, Dan.
Yeah, just so Andy, how much of this is doors versus I'll say electronics, but which is primarily a security system, right?
Difficult to say because in the bid we had 3 bid options. One was to bid the doors only. One was to bid the entrance system or the electronic entrance system only, and one was to bid both. And it was a lump sum. So I would say it's probably split. It might be a little bit more doors. I would say 60%, 40%, if I had to take a guess.
But, yeah. What is the entrance system? Is it a
It's a pole-mounted push button system.
this little square that you would push that we see some places?
Exactly.
Okay.
One there that would open so the vestibule entrance has 2 sets of doors, and so there would be 2 push buttons.
Okay. And then I don't want to speak for Dr. Weiss, but I could hear it in his voice because, we just opened this building a couple of years ago, and now we're spending close to $30,000 on replacing doors. So we want to get this right, unlike obviously the first time around. Are they able to, Monica, I always say we could never close the doors because they never stop chirping at us if we close. Are we certain none of that's going to be an issue and everything's going to work smoothly and all that stuff?
I can say we have heavily scrutinized the plan.
Sure. Yeah.
Going in there. I don't anticipate any problems, but building is not my forte.
Understood.
So
Understood.
I have to rely on my expertise.
Yeah.
Or experts.
Yes. What are we doing with those are still pretty new doors. Are we able to do anything with that? Recoup any of the cost in any way? Reuse them somewhere else? Sell them to someone else? Can we do any of that?
They are called to be salvaged in the contract.
So we're still paying close to $30K for the system, and they're going to take the doors too?
No. Salvaged meaning they're to be kept by the.
Oh, I thought they were going to salvage them themselves and reuse them somewhere else. So
No.
we don't have plans for them, but we're going to keep them. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I get it. This is just a tough pill to swallow so soon after a new building. Frustrating.
Any other comment from supervisors? John, yes.
So I apologize to my fellow supervisors. I was off video for about 5 minutes testifying in the Trenton Mercer Airport EA, and I just finished that up. So you'll have me on video and you'll have my mic on at all times. So thank you for letting me jump out there for a moment. And I'm against the beeping too. I took a class and the beeping was an issue. So hopefully the beeping will stop with the new door and I'll come and take another class again soon.
Yes, Fred.
I thought he was going to ask to take goat yoga.
That's at the park.
That's at
Yoga's
Veterans
not my
Square this
forte, but
weekend.
I remember when we first started talking about redoing the doors, prices going north of $50,000. So even though 29, almost 30 is significant for a redo, that I'd rather not pay. It's still better than 50. So
I will say that you are getting the added benefit of having the electronic opening system as well.
Okay. There's no further comments from the board. Monica, is there any public comment?
There is no public comment.
With that, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye, raising your hand.
Aye.
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 Aye. 4. Of those opposed?
Aye.
1 against. So James, the opposition vote, just for the purpose of the stenographer. Thank you all very much. Next one, Andy.
Next item is to consider the award for Memorial Park Phase 2 Improvements Project to Miko Constructors, Inc. at a cost not to exceed $580,507. So we had open bids on May 26th. We received 4 bids in a range of $621,331 was the low bid. The maximum bid was $1,020,976.72. In talking with the contractor, so this is over budget. In talking with the contractor, it looked like one way to save some money, reduce the scope, and get this to a dollar figure that could potentially work. In talking with township staff, it could potentially work within the township budget. We indicated that a deletion of the line item for the parking lot wearing course. So there is about half of the parking area out there already has a base course down. So this project had a wearing course being put on top of the base course, and then also a new parking, the expansion of the parking area on the western portion of the park. That would have a base course and a wearing course under the new, in the proposed bid. So by eliminating this parking lot wearing course, we would be just having base course down for the parking lot, with the understanding that next year during the road program, we could incorporate installing wearing course at the on the parking lots for the park. And that would be a way to save money under this bid and bring that down to the $580,507. That's where we came up with that number.
And in my report that I gave to the board regarding the financial component of that, as outlined, we do have money that I've created this new fund that I've told you about, this sidewalk fee in lieu of fund that we now are earmarking so it doesn't get spent accidentally. It can be used for sidewalks, trails, as long as it's new construction. And as I outlined in my report, the quote for the trail portion of this project was $47,427 that we could use that sidewalk fee in lieu of money to pay for that portion of the project, which would then net that cost out to about $533,000, which is getting in within the scope of the $500,000. As a reminder, this part of this is being funded by a $250,000 grant. So as when this came in, and we've bid this a couple of times and scaled the project back, that this would be a way within our budgetary limitations to move forward on the project. And as Andy said, to do the wearing course, with our next road program, to add that in and go from there. But certainly I can answer questions on the financial part, Andy, on the project part, if for the board.
Well, should we get a motion out there before we have any more discussion? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Fred. Second?
I'll
Thank you,
second.
John. Thank you, John. Okay, so now supervisors, is there a discussion? Yes, Dan.
I guess first, can we clarify what we're covering in this motion? Because I know we have the base, and then there's a recommendation for removing the sort of the base course or whatever for however
So,
many. I just
so
want to make
the-
sure we're all talking about the same thing.
The motion would be to award the project and exclude the wearing course, as Andy had discussed.
Okay.
As there was financial matters, I was providing the board with the overview of how we could accommodate that, because that is still a bit higher than we had projected. So the motion would be to award the bid minus the wearing course that came out to the price that Andy had provided.
Right, that's the not to exceed 580,000 and change that's on the agenda.
correct.
Okay. So all that being said, how much of that is covered by grant, Andy, or Kurt for that matter?
250,000.
Right.
So in 257,
250.
250. All right. So we got a balance of 330 that the township's covering, right?
And we had budgeted for, we had assumed through our original match, 250,000, right? So in the end, the approval consideration for 580, we could pay for part of that difference from the sidewalk fee in lieu of $47,000. So that would essentially then leave the net amount being 533 when we had assumed 500,000.
Yeah. I see what you're trying to do, Kurt. I guess my concern with that is, in my mind anyway, scary place to be sometimes, using a sidewalk fee in lieu fund to do a trail at a park takes away the funding to do that sidewalk in the neighborhood where the fee in lieu was, originally applied. And I would lean more towards, I get what you're doing. I do. It concerns me that we wouldn't be able to actually put in a sidewalk in a neighborhood that might want one in exchange.
I would say, Dan, in answer to that, I hear what you're saying. Remember, when we collect sidewalk fee in lieu of money, whether the sidewalk goes in that particular neighborhood or others, right? That would be the only requirement around that, and that's a policy-oriented decision, right? Is that it's new construction. We couldn't use it to repair sidewalks, repair trails. We could use it to either connect places to each other or connect public spaces that we have within each other. So that's a policy-oriented decision. It's not inappropriate, legally inappropriate, to do that. So it's just a matter of, that was an option I put out there for the board that I felt financially would allow us to move forward on the project if the board so chose.
Yeah, I get that. I appreciate that. And we also have a park and rec fee in lieu fund as well, right?
That's where the matching money for this grant is going to come from. The original 250,000 that we discussed about two months ago, where this would come from.
That's it. And are there any other places in this budget? I'm looking at the line items here. Are there any other places in this budget to save to bring it down the extra 30K, whatever it is?
Well, I mean, the question in the end is we discussed this as a staff and with the solicitor. The original discussion was, right, if you took the trail out, and then the question's going to be, if you took the trail out and you were essentially left with the project, then that is the tennis courts and the pickleball courts, and the parking lot improvement without the trail. The question then would be, we'd have to look internally, could we remove that $90,000 or so from the original bid amount legally and move forward with that? So that would have been the other thing that we looked at. So, everything else, Andy will tell you, when you look at these, we always think that there's going to be areas that we hope we come under. I wouldn't sit and count that, apart from the framework and remember, the project itself has been scaled back. We took the pavilions out, we took the playground equipment out. So we have scaled this back once before.
How long's the trail? I run along the trail that's already there on the other side of the park. How is it compared to that one in terms of length and size, et cetera?
It's so I don't have a linear footage for you. I could probably get one to you. I could probably measure it up and get one to you.
Well, how about this? Does it go around the whole side of that whole portion of the park, or is it just a small section? Half of it? I mean,
No, so that portion of the park, when you come through the wetlands, there's a parking lot. There's the existing parking lot that's there that just has the base course now. And then if you'll remember, there's a row of trees to the east of that parking lot. So the trail goes, it's almost oval shaped. And so it goes north around the parking lot, probably 250 feet north of the parking lot, cuts over, goes through that, a portion of that tree stand, and then comes down around the new tennis courts, and then loops back towards the parking lot on either side. So it's oval shaped, and I would say if that's probably 600 feet in length and 250 feet in width. So 1,700.
yeah. Is it in addition to or replacing parts of the Red Tipple Trail that's out there now?
So it would be in addition to that.
Okay. I'm just, it's a lot of money for a fairly short trail. That's all. Trying to spin that around.
Any other supervisors have any comments, discussion? Monica, is there any public, sorry, yes, John.
I was just going to say that I'm looking forward to losing to Jim Majewski on the courts once they're opened. I know that he has been a particular advocate for them, and I'm told he's a tremendous tennis player, and I, of course, am not. So he will enjoy a lovely victory at my expense.
So, and I would remind the board as well, since you all hear from a lot of our residents who are interested in this, Monica, that this has been changed to include, is it 3 pickleball courts? Is that right?
I believe it's four pickleball.
Or 4 pickleball courts as well.
And 3 tennis courts.
I'm actually serviceable in pickleball, so if he wants to bring his A game, you don't know.
Monica, is there any public comment?
There is no public comment.
And with that, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye and raising their hands.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Agenda item number 10, Kurt, project updates.
Thank you. I don't have much to report. If there's questions, I'll certainly take them. However, you will notice that we've put an update on the Mirror Lake traffic signalization project, with bids being opened on July 8th. We will be working on the specific time frame on Sandy Run. As a reminder, the Sandy Run contractor is the same as Harris Paving. That's already underway on our roads, so they're staged in the area. Since I got a call about this today, I want to reiterate this. The goal is that we'll be starting Sandy Run shortly after school ends, with the idea that we will move and push them to get finished with that project before school restarts August 24th or 25th when it starts. So that all of those things will be underway. I'm not sure if there's any questions, but that's all I have to report.
Kurt, real quick on the Sandy Run stuff, just because it's in close proximity. Are there any issues with the ball use of the ball fields because of that portion of the project that PIA should be aware of?
No, there won't be any. There's going to be some traffic limitations that we will be coordinating with Chief Caluzzi and his team regarding detours that will be going on at particular points in time. But we'll make sure that prior to those detours starting, we'll have like the signboard and signs out letting people know when that's going to start, so they don't just happen upon it one morning without any notice. So we'll make sure that we get that on social media, and we'll have that for passersby with our message board and stuff in advance of that happening.
Good. Thank you.
Monica, any comment? Public comment on project updates?
There's no comment, no public comment.
Okay. Then moving along to agenda under item 11, which is the manager's report.
I have nothing for you all tonight.
So are we skipping right along to agenda item number 12, the solicitor's report?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. First, the report on the executive session. Tonight, the executive session started at 6:30. During the executive session, all board members participated. Mr. Ferguson, myself, and Chief Galuzzi were present, as well as Mr. Majewski for a period of time. Litigation items, real estate items, and informational items were discussed at the executive session, which concluded at approximately 7:24, I believe, something like that, right before this meeting started. The two items on my solicitor's report are interrelated. They both deal essentially with the same condition. I'll try to be brief but comprehensive on the background. In the late 1980s, the township condemned right-of-way areas along several properties on Edgewood Road, one of which involved property located at 1355 Edgewood Road, owned by Stephen and Helen Hines. As a result of the condemnation and after litigation, the township and the Hines entered into a settlement agreement, part of which required the township to provide sanitary sewer connections at the time of roadway improvements. So from 1996, when the settlement agreement was reached with Mr. and Mrs. Hines, until late 2019 and early 2020, the township did not install any sewer lines or connections on Edgewood Road. And by way of more background, anybody's familiar with the several iterations of the Fieldstone project to the east of that, which is also called the Harris Tract, several times that was discussed if that project was to be undertaken and the sewer connection was going to be made there. The Hines were interested in hooking up there. Well, fast forward, since that project, of course, never did take off, adjacent property owners at 1343 Edgewood Road, which is the property just to the east of the Hineses, owned by Marie and Bernard McVan, constructed a single-family home which included installation of sanitary sewer lines within the right-of-way of Edgewood Road from the property at 1343 Edgewood Road northward, which is away out of their home, through the right-of-way in front of the Hines property, hence getting the agreement reinitiated, with a connection into an existing manhole and sewer line located in the rear yard of 700 Fox Hollow Drive, which is a property adjacent to the Hines, but is actually in the Yardley Estates development. So when the sewer line construction commenced, Hines retained legal counsel, began enforcement of the settlement agreement. And there's a letter agreement eventually with the Hines, which resulted in the township at its cost obtaining a grinder pump for the Hines, which is necessary for part of the accomplishment of the sewer line installation. Hines will be responsible for connection from the house to the grinder pump to the public sewer line. In order to fulfill its legal obligation to the Hines, the township needs to acquire ownership of the sanitary sewer line and ownership of the easement located on the property at 700 Fox Hollow Drive. That will be the Francione property, which is under subsection B of 12. The township, through the sewer engineer, has reviewed and analyzed all the permits in addition to invoices of all costs and expenses incurred by the property owners for installation of the sewer line. After review, the township sewer engineer recommends the township reimburse the property owners. That would be, in this case, the McVans, $22,488 for the materials and labor for the installation, as the costs are reasonable, less than the cost if the township proceeded to install the sewer line itself. Additionally, had this township originally installed this public sanitary sewer line and system prior to the issue being raised by the Hines, the system probably would not have required use of grinder pumps. Accordingly, we also recommend the township reimburse the McVans a sum of $3,801, which is the cost of the grinder pump, which they installed, which is consistent with the township's obligation to purchase the grinder pump for the Hines family. So the township recommends the sewer line be extended to the property located at 1337 Edgewood Road, which is one more property to the east. To complete the line, that property is not inhabited at this time, but also is owned by another family whose name I do not recall. But the purpose of the two resolutions tonight, number one, is to accept the deed of dedication memorandum of understanding and extensive sewer lines into Edgewood Road, conditioned upon receipt of the signed documents. And that again was generated by the McVans constructing the sewer line in front of their house, which then generated the Hines leaping into action based upon the settlement agreement. And then the second one is to confirm and accept the permanent access easement agreement and memorandum of understanding for the Francione resolution, which is the property on Fox Hollow, which completes the hookup to the township system. So if the board is so inclined, we would request that a motion be made to approve the McBain resolution, accepting the documents that are listed under 12A.
Is there a
So
motion?
moved.
Thank you, Fred. Second?
Second.
Thank you, James. Any discussion from the board? Yes, Dan?
Yeah, so Dave, this involves three homeowners, correct?
Yes, 3 properties, yes.
Three properties, right?
Yep.
Okay. I believe that third family was the Stebbins family. Is who
Yeah, I knew it started with an S. I can never
Okay,
remember.
so I know where you're talking about.
Yes, you're correct. That's correct. And that's the one at 1337.
Yeah, I know during some of the discussions about the Heritage Tract over the years, all those parcel owners, I'll say, came to those meetings and expressed concerns about that. So this is I'm sure they'll be happy to hear this.
This accomplishes a lot of avoiding a lot of headache and angst that actually occurred over literally decades, and I think it was rather fortuitous but helpful in the long run. So
yeah.
Dave, just to be clear, right, we're resolving a promise that the township made to residents from years ago. We're finally
yes.
doing what needs to be done.
Yep.
Okay. Any other discussion from the board? Any public comment?
There is no public comment.
Then with that, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye, raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. 12B then would just be, again, a companion motion here. The Francione resolution is to confirm the permanent access easement to that property located at 700 Fox Hollow, which completes the connection.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Dan. Second from James. Any discussion from the board? Monica, is there any public comment?
There is no public comment.
With that, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye, raising your hand.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Sure. I want to thank Barbara Kirk and Kurt and Fred Ebert for really picking up and doing a lot of heavy lifting on this one. Next, in the zoning hearing board, there's one appeal that for the board's consideration tonight. Ryan Huck is requesting a variance at 42 Bedford Place, tax parcel number 20-046-157. A variance from the Township Zoning Ordinance 200-56 capital C subsection 7 for the replacement of an existing fence in an identified floodplain area. This involves a home that was built 6 decades plus ago. A pool was installed in 1962 and approved, and Township Ordinance requires that a pool be surrounded by a fence. In the interim, of course, some of the flood mapping has changed in this property, which is down near the river, near Black Rock and River Road, has then been, I think, placed in a flood zone as a floodplain area, as this application would indicate. The one caveat in this particular situation, obviously the owners put it in a difficult situation, is the application includes a solid fence. Mr. Majewski's pointed that out to us, and I think it's certainly a fair comment. We would recommend participation, not to oppose the fence, but to request that the fence that is installed be open so that it would allow for flow of any water that would be in the area. So that would be our recommendation. If the board is so inclined, we would request a motion to participate.
So moved.
Thank you, Dan. Any second? Thank you, John. Any discussion?
Dave, is Mr. Majewski going to be there to make that request?
He usually is, and we can certainly make that part of our request that he be present for that. And I know that he's speaking with Ms. Kirk tomorrow on another matter. We could just include that as part of that. He brought it up in our executive session tonight, so I think it would be appropriate that he'd be able to make that pitch in a very appropriate and engineering sensitive way.
He just texted me. He's busy getting his racket restrung. So he wants to win big. He doesn't want to just beat me. He wants to win big. So.
That's funny. Not to go off on a tangent, but that's actually written into some state regulations about putting fences in floodplains. Make sure they're open.
Yeah, that would make
allow
sense.
for flow.
Sure. So, and that may be something, since we frequently talk about that in terms of impervious surface, that may be something we should look at for purposes of whether we're actually mandated for that. I think that's something else. Maybe that will help us down the road if this ever reappears in any other application. So,
yeah,
anyway.
I can give you some examples on that of stuff that's already written pretty easily.
Okay. We still need to vote if you want to direct us to do that. So
if there's no further discussion, any comment, public comment, Monica?
There is no public comment.
With that, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye, raising your hand.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0.
thank you. That's all I have for my report tonight.
So agenda item number 14, as you know, I hope you've all noticed, we're going to be interviewing an applicant who wants a position on the zoning hearing board. Traditionally, these interviews happen before the meeting started, but schedules being what they are, I would hope we can all be a little flexible as required that this be done in public. And with that, can we bring James into the meeting?
Hello.
Hi, welcome, and thank you for your interest in the zoning hearing board. So with that, I will open it up to the other supervisors if anyone has any questions they would like to ask him. Yes, go ahead, John.
So first off, I just want to disclose Mr. Doherty lives in my neighborhood and is a lovely and wonderful neighbor. Oh, wait a second, that's the rest of his family, but he's okay too. I've known Jim for many years, and he has my highest recommendation.
Thank you, John.
I love my neighbors too, so I join in that. I echo for all those who live in Clearview. So go ahead, Dan.
I'm sure I do not live in Clearview, so nice to meet you. I'm just looking at your resume. My only question is just to make, when it's always good to have people on the zoning hearing board that understand real estate appraisals, et cetera, understand the market, but at the same sometimes when you have those folks, there's a potential for conflict. So I just want to make sure that you don't have any clients that typically go in front of the zoning hearing board or anything like that in your world, do you?
No, my actual real estate appraisal world is or practice is really dwindling. I do about 1 or 2 appraisals a week. I primarily am earning a living as a real estate investor at this point. So not only do I bring my 35 years of real estate appraisal experience and acumen to the table, I also bring my investing acumen. I've done a subdivision down in Tullytown. I'm developing a new construction piece in Fishtown in the Philadelphia section right now. I have a really, really strong understanding of land use controls and zoning. But to answer your question, no, I do not have, I don't have conflicts of interest.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. I work in the land development world too, so when I always have to keep an eye out for what's going on. But otherwise, thank you for these are zoning hearing board meets a couple times a month and can be rather time consuming. So it's always appreciated when residents can volunteer for these types of positions, because it does take you away from your family and your job. So thank you for stepping up. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yes, James.
James, thanks for applying. Nice to meet you. I'm a fellow appraiser as well. We never get to meet because we're always, sitting in our cars by ourselves. The road is lonely. I wish I was doing 1 or 2 appraisals a week nowadays, but I love the background. I sat on the zoning hearing board for about 7 years as an appraiser, and I think that it does bring a very good angle of approach when it comes to some of these decisions. So, I look forward to it, and you have my vote.
Thank you.
Yes, Fred.
As the supervisor liaison for the zoning hearing board, your skills and expertise would be very welcome, and look forward to working with you in the year to come.
Thank you very much.
We haven't actually appointed him yet, Fred. So that's
I'm pretentious. I can be pretentious.
Yes, John.
I move to appoint Mr. James Doherty to the zoning hearing board.
I'll
Can
second.
we do all the appointments at one time? You know how I like rules. Oh, go ahead. Yes, John made a motion. Who seconded it?
I'll second it.
I did.
I'll
Thank you.
third it.
All those, is there any public comment, Monica?
There is no public comment.
All those in favor of the appointment, please signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
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 Appointment carries 5-0. Welcome aboard. Welcome.
Thank you, and
welcome.
thanks for being flexible.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thanks. Take care.
Okay. I believe we're on to the public comment section of the agenda, although I seem to have lost the last page of my agenda.
There is no public comment.
Okay. Then we're moving along to agenda item number 16, which is a discussion item. I believe that's you, Monica.
That is me. I just wanted to come today to discuss the Bucks County Planning Commission is working on a feasibility study to connect Newtown to the D&L Trail. And they kind of started pre-COVID and it got paused. And but during the initial discussions, Morrisville expressed interest in a connectivity to the D&L Trail as well. So essentially what today the Planning Commission would like to know if the township would like to continue in pursuit of that connection that would come through Lower Makefield Township to the D&L Trail. And if there is interest, then they will continue on with the feasibility study and fact find as needed to continue the project. But they're not going to continue with it if there's no interest from the township. I can say that they did come and present to the Park and Rec Board, and the Park and Rec Board is in favor of the connection.
So go ahead, James.
I just had a question, Monica. They were in favor of the connection, or they were in favor of the feasibility of the connection?
Well, the feasibility of the
Study,
connection. They're
right?
in favor of connectivity, and they're in favor of continuing on with the feasibility study. You're correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and I sat during that meeting, and I had some questions for the two gentlemen from the Bucks County Planning Commission regarding what the kind of, I guess, what the bigger picture was, or what the plan was as far as the connectivity of that part of Marsville. I guess Marsville already has connectivity through the trail, through the canal, through the towpath, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so they already are connected to that trail. So I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, for Lower Makefield Township residents down to the towpath, essentially.
Yeah. Well, the project is from Newtown down to the towpath, but they wanted to include a connection from, I believe, Newtown. Correct me if I'm wrong. From Newtown through Morrisville to the towpath, and it'd be all roadways mostly, just bike path lanes.
Yeah, and that was the part that I really couldn't wrap my mind around, because connectivity from Marsville to Newtown goes through Lower Makefield. I guess that's what the feasibility study that they're looking to figure out would be.
Yeah, they just want to see if it's worthwhile to even pursue it with the continuation of the feasibility study.
And I think the Parks and Recs Board had some questions about, what exactly would the advantage of connecting into Marsville from a resident standpoint of Lower Makefield would be. And I think that there were some questions out there as far as, the development part of what Marsville is looking to do in order to draw residents down there, or if it was just going to be one of those blue or yellow or red type of just roadways that they were looking to connect. So yeah, I really couldn't figure out what exactly it was that they were trying to accomplish with this. So that's kind of where I left it with them. So I don't know how the other supervisors feel about it.
I feel like it's a very early phase of exploring. Ordinarily, probably wouldn't even be discussed at a Board of Supervisor meeting, but we know that the Board of Supervisors really likes to be involved with planning from the bottom up, and we want to make sure to include the supervisors in that way. But if there is interest in exploring it in the feasibility study, we'll continue to explore it. Jim Majewski and I are both sit on the committee as we discuss further, so we can continue to include the Park and Rec Board and continue to include the Board of Supervisors if you are interested in exploring that as an option. And we would still include you otherwise too, of course.
Yes, Dan.
So, Monica, I've been Googling this to try and understand where since it is such an early phase feasibility study, it's all still a bit vague. So I'm trying to, but if anyone's interested, I think this is the same thing. On the buckscounty.org website, they posted something called the Planning Commission Eyes New Trails Connecting Newtown to the D&L Trail. And there's about a 30-minute, connects to YouTube, but it's a YouTube presentation that kind of talks about the feasibility study. And it's basically trying to get Newtown to Washington Crossing, Newtown to Yardley, and Newtown to different places along the trail. Which I get because they're landlocked relative to the rest of us. But from a air quote trail perspective, it's not like, it doesn't sound like they are considering building anything or constructing anything. It's more about adding striping or something like that along existing corridors, just to maybe make it a little safer for a bike lane or people to run, walk, or bike or whatever from point A to point B, and maybe put out a map or something to get people to use it, in addition to the towpath, in addition to the new whatever we call bridge connection to New Jersey as well. That's going in, basically done now. So it's a neat idea. It's just we're short on details to see where they'd be moving people or directing people. So I'm interested. I just, as you would probably guess, I'm just more interested to see where they want to go with it.
Can I, Monica, just because I know someone else had asked this question on the staff. It's possible during the feasibility study, they may say it doesn't make sense, or it's not safe, or the hill is too steep and we wouldn't recommend it. It's not a slam dunk necessarily that it makes its way in. It's just to make that, to draw any conclusions that they can have. Correct?
Yes, that's correct, Kurt.
I would be very interested to see this developed a bit. I mean, as an avid biker, one of the things this township lacks is a really good, safe network for bicyclists and for pedestrians, for walkers. And it would be nice for me to see a concept where we could safely, walk all over the township, get into the trail system, and end up in Easton, or go down to Bristol or south. So, I would be willing to see what can develop.
John, did I speak? Yeah.
Yeah, in general, I'm very supportive of the Bucks County Planning Commission reviewing the options. In general, I've been very pleased with their policy analysis over the years. They do relatively thorough work. And there are a lot of benefits from this analysis that we're going to get, even if the eventual choice may not lead to a bike path initially. Some of the options do improve pedestrian access in areas such as Makefield Road, where we've had issues in the past and concerned citizens. And I think it's definitely something that for the township is a win. If at the end of this, there's a good feasible option, this isn't incurring the township to say, hey, we're going to spend money to build this out. But it does give us the blueprints and the wherewithal to then secure potential additional funding from the state or others to expand the bike path. So I'm generally, let Mr. Stone and the team go to town on this and see what they come up with, because A lot of the analysis, like I said, there could be a lot of ancillary benefits. I think of the children that now could have access to shopping centers that they might not have had access to before, that they could now, go and shop or visit friends and stuff in that area where they are sometimes a bit landlocked. So I'm very supportive of having the Bucks County Planning Commission review this and look forward to their findings.
I think I'll just add my 2 cents. I've looked at the different options that I guess were at least preliminarily or very preliminary, how many varies I should put in front of that. And I'm not a biker. I can ride a bike, but I do not. And, these roads, to my mind, like I would be scared if I suddenly had to share the road that's narrow already with suddenly a striped line. But I appreciate that this is in the beginning, and more information might help frame better decisions. So that's definitely a win. I know that we as a township have in place what our dream connectivity would look like. And I hope in the future we can move forward on some of that, because I do think having more connectivity is good for everyone. That being said, we're going to have to wrestle with issues, including like we all say we all say we want it, but then when it's actually going to be in your front yard or backyard, do people still want it? And I think those are some of the issues that we're going to have to talk about, but can't talk about them without more information. So I support more information. No
Okay.
further comment from the board. Is there any public comment?
No, there is no public comment on this item. Suzanne, however, we do have a caller that did call in for public comment just a tad late. I don't know if you're willing to take them.
Of course, but let's just wrap this up and then we'll go back to that. So are we good with where we've ended the discussion? Does Monica have what she needs?
Do we need a motion or anything like that? Or are we
No,
just good?
no motion,
Okay.
just an initial discussion, necessary, I believe, for this. It's just to see if you would like them to pursue this as a possible connection, and then we can move forward and come back to you later with a lot more information, hopefully.
Great, thank you. So we will back up for a second and go to public comment. Monica, if you could bring in the resident.
Sure, we have Lee on the line. Yeah.
Oh, it is resident. Okay.
Mhm.
Hey, Lee, please state your full name for record, address for the record.
I didn't know you had listened to me. I was a tad late. Lee Pedowitz, 247 Truman Way. Just regarding the bike path, I've been doing a lot of biking. Is there any way to safely get over 95? I don't know, like the crossing on Big Oak Road, I wouldn't walk on that thing over to the other side. And that crossing on Stony Hill, I wouldn't walk on that or take a bike on that either. Is there any other way to get over there? I mean, I'm just throwing that out as a question because I got a couple other comments.
Go ahead, Dan.
So, Lee, I don't know. I mean, check it out. But when I cross over 95, it's on Dolington, where it bends around Snipes and crosses over 95 there, and then it bends the other way towards, kind of towards where Supervisor Lewis and Blundy live, a little bit towards the golf course. There's a bit of a shoulder there, probably 4 or 5 feet wide on either side. But I would recommend checking it out. To Supervisor Blundy's point earlier about what you're comfortable with, check it out. I do it every weekend, but otherwise, if you went all the way down to Taylorsville, you could sneak under 95 there, but I would recommend going through the towpath in that section just to avoid that mess of an interchange. But I know where you're coming from, so you'd probably come down Creamery, cross over to Dolington, then cross 95 there. But I'll take you on a bike ride someday, Lee. We could check it out. How about that?
I'll take you up on that, but
do it.
You better be careful. Just a
The
couple
Lee
of
Dan
things.
bike ride and the John Jim tennis match. Go, Lee,
It's
go.
on.
Yeah, well, that's one thing I'm going to lead to. Well, first, down on Big Oak Road, where the tracks cross Big Oak Road, it's a mess. I guess they use railroad ties there, and they're very loose, and when traffic goes over them, it's obvious. And I don't know. I just hope there's no damage, but I don't know if that's Lower Makefield's responsibility, or if it's even in Lower Makefield Township. You know which I'm talking
I believe
about? Big
that's
Oak Road?
Mr. Pedowitz. I think that's in just inside Middletown Township, but the area that's where you talked about coming from Coles, going west, and then crossing over 95, and then the tracks there. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
That's just inside Middletown, I believe.
All right. Well, should I just call like CSX or SEPTA to have them look at it?
Maybe that'd be a
We
place
can
to
give you the
start.
Middletown Township Supervisors numbers if you want to call them.
Well, I wouldn't hesitate. But I can look that up online. I just was wondering who'd be responsible for it.
That's just inside Middletown, just inside.
Yeah. Okay. Then just a couple other quickies. Could we get on the agenda for the next meeting the status of the road paving project in Lower Makefield?
So that was discussed a little bit earlier in Andy's report that, it's kicking off already. And there's information up on the township website.
Yeah.
As well.
Oh, okay. I thought there was more information available. And the last item, well, first, your meeting's a quickie tonight, but did I understand you're going to be putting in 4 more pickleball courts?
Pickleball is my favorite sport, which is not true. It's a song kids sing. Yes, that is true. Over on the north end of the township.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
Like whereabouts? Like I know where Memorial Park is by Giant.
Yeah. No, you don't, Ben. Over on Woodside Road, where the Garden of Reflections.
Over down. Yeah. Okay. All right.
It'll give you a chance to bike ride with Dan over 95. It's over that way.
Yeah, but
I'm terrible at pickleball, so that would be one heck of a day.
All right. Well, listen, thank you very much, Chair Blundy and supervisors and everybody else. Stay well and stay safe.
You as well, Lee. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Monica, any more public comment?
No, there's no further public comment.
Okay, then with that, we'll move along back to agenda item number 17, which is supervisor reports. I will lead off. I don't have anything to share as the timing in between our last update and this meeting. James, do you have anything?
No updates at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Fred? You're on mute.
Everything that's been discussed with committee has been discussed already, so I have nothing further.
Thank you, Fred. John?
Yes, during this meeting, I was multitasking for a short period of time and appeared before the Trenton Mercer Environmental Impact Public Comment hearing. The board has, I believe, a final draft of its comment letter based on our discussion previously. I know Supervisor Grenier provided some technical revisions to some of the draft revisions that Chair Blundy provided, and my understanding is that we're okay at this point with that draft, or is there any other board action that would need to be done for that to be sent out?
Yeah, as I said in the email, John, I'm going to review the changes that Dan made after. The plan had been that Dan would make changes and then we would review them, but timing just didn't work out. And I thought we were on the June 2nd deadline. So I took the initial stab, and then Dan did provide additional input and cleared up that we don't have to have it by June 2nd. So once we have a chance to look at that.
Just for the record, my comments echoed what was in the final draft. So I took excerpts from that and didn't deviate.
You could speak on behalf of yourself, as we talked about. So whatever you said is John.
Yes, but obviously I want to carry forth the board's thought as well on that. And that's all I have for reports.
Thank you, John. Dan?
I'm just reporting that HARB will be meeting on Tuesday, the 8th at 6 p.m. And the Historic Commission will be meeting on Thursday, the 10th at 7:30 p.m.
Thank you for that. Is there any other business? Then agenda item 19, appointments to board and commissions.
Suzanne, I'd like to nominate Fred Childs, Dennis Stedman, and James Neitz for the Ad Hoc Township Property Committee.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Fred. Is there any discussion? Yes, Dan?
Yeah, I don't have, I'm aware of some of these folks, but I would like to interview them to understand what their vision is for this particular committee. We've interviewed them in the past for very different reasons, and I'd like to understand what role they would fill on that committee. We have some pretty specific roles for our resolution on that, and where they would fit in and how their backgrounds fit. I know we want to get this moving forward, but my preference would be to interview them ahead of appointing 3 people to this new committee.
Any other discussion? Then with that, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the appointments, please signify by saying aye, raising your hand. Aye.
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 Opposed?
I'll oppose.
Okay, then the motion carries 4-1. Thank you all very much. And there being no further business before the board tonight, this meeting is adjourned. Have a good evening, everyone, and be well. Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thanks. Good night, y'all.
Good night.